late.
Okay.
But we'll wait until he gets here. Yeah. We'll just talk to the fans. Yeah. SoFlo's already in the house. What's going on, SoFlo?
Hey, SoFlo.
How are you, buddy?
Okay.
JR, I'm loving that. That almost looks like the poster's floating at this point.
Well, the powers of the Green Goblin are...
Let me look at that.
Many.
Oh, now I can tell. That looks cool.
Yeah, nice little like folding background.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm trying to basically in my home office, and I'm trying to warm up because, of course, we're winter is close upon us here in the Pacific Northwest.
Here, take some Georgia heat because it was
like I wish I had your cold because it is. I'm like burning up right now.
Oh gosh!
I had to turn my AC off because like it was really cold and like it's 73 degrees where I am. So give me your cold.
Heroing. Hey everyone, it's definitely been an exciting week to be a Spidey fan this week, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't reviewed 6 amazing Spider-Man books. JR, I can't remember the last time we did this many, even during One More Day or Brand New Day.
Well, I don't know if that's saying much, Brad, because sometimes you don't remember topics that you've had on your own show. So,
what's your name?
Like you had to be told by the you had to be told by the fans that you were the one that brought up the fact that Byrne didn't like the Green Goblin. Remember?
Oh, I know. There's just so much hard drive space in this whole brain, and I delete a lot.
You have 10 terabytes of memory, and you only use a
terabyte. There's my screen share.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh nope, I just killed it. I had to hold on. Share audio, share there, and then I need to take it out. There we go.
Yep.
We're waiting on one more member, Tyler, to join us. So we'll take your questions, 14 people watching. Feel free.
Yeah.
What would you like to know from JR? What dark, dirty secrets would you like to know? Like, what bodies are in those long boxes?
From now on, JR's new name is Glenn Gorblin.
Okay.
All right.
It's better. It's easier to disguise his secret identity as the Green Goblin.
Everyone had a great time reading 51 to 52LR, and I'm expecting fireworks, especially from JR.
Ooh. Wait a minute. Why? I'm just gonna tell the story straightforward.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not gonna add anything or embellish anything or make everything up.
Yeah.
Those are ugly, vicious rumors from a very jealous, angry George Barrowman, who's not here, by the way.
He's not here.
It's all fake news.
Yeah,
I understand, JR.
You're not getting one JR Goblin review tonight. You're getting 2.
You're getting 2 of them.
Get ready. JR is my. I'll say this when we start the show. JR is my bookends.
Hey, I will give you guys a sneak peek at when I do review the 50LR. It's probably going to be extremely short because not much happens in it.
Mine's not that short. Like mine's not that long either. I mean, I'm kind of nervous that like this is the first time I've had to like actually review something on the main show. So I don't know if I'm going to do it justice. Compared to JR.
Fine.
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
You all will do perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So Brad,
yes,
I got booze for satellites. I got good booze for satellites. You
want you said booze, like
Neil.
Z. Like you gonna start drinking, Neil? I mean, what?
I was like,
the
Neil.
Patreon members paid for it.
If you want, I can break it. If you want, I can break it out on. If I can break it out during the main show, and then we can carry it on over into satellites.
Neil, Neil, I'm speaking from Neil. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Kelly, the voice of experience.
No,
don't do it.
Especially since apparently, I guess there's a thing on YouTube because it's like doing songs on YouTube. It's you can't have basically labeled things on a stream because then it's like because especially if you're not being sponsored by them. So there's that.
Oh, JR, I forgot. I got to get this iTunes review up. Hold on. Let me get iTunes going.
Hang on. We're covered in Spider-Man garb. We're not endorsed by... Oh, God.
There's my review. Okay.
No, because technically that is actually made by Brad. That's fair use. That is actually...
Mountain Dew should have sponsored this show 10 years ago.
Oh, now we're getting demonetized.
There we go.
By the way, the cosplay episode last night, Kelly?
Yeah.
They put limited advertising on it, and I think So I protested it. I'm like, we're not doing anything sexual. We're not cussing. I think maybe because the suits were a little tight. I think that's maybe what they.
Well, yeah, you did have a comment that featured the N-word, which wasn't okay by
Are
one
you
of your
kidding me?
students.
Oh,
yeah,
my
no,
God.
the
Good
kid you
God.
blocked. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why. That's what I saw. That's why I was like, whoa.
Oh, maybe that's
Hold
it.
up.
Yeah.
Good God. Tony, thank you very much. Amazing podcast, Brad. Keep it
Yeah,
up.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
What a wonderful lot we solicit.
Where did JR
No,
find that great, crazy goblin picture? That's an Alex Ross from a Brand New Day cover. They made posters of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I got it. I was working in Colorado, and I just looked the place up because you asked. I found it at a place called Hero Headquarters in Westminster, Colorado.
Nice.
And by the way, that Alex Ross thing, I mean, that's probably one of the few depictions of the Green Goblin where it looks like he's actually wearing a rubber mask,
I
and
agree.
it doesn't look stupid.
I would agree.
Yeah.
There's Tyler. There, Tyler, how long you been back there? I'm so sorry.
I literally just got on like less than a
I didn't even
minute
hear the
ago.
beep in my ear that you're here.
Hey there. And this is a first for Tyler, by the way, because I don't think we've ever done a review of
Have you guys
Main
seen
Street.
Tyler?
Wasn't he on for the Jonah Jonah arc review?
No.
I don't know. No, he was. Tyler showed. The only time I've seen. I know he's been. He's been on. He hasn't done a main book review. I don't think.
No,
Correct.
I have not. That is
Well,
correct.
welcome.
Okay, so this is welcome. So
JR, have you met Tyler? Tyler, JR.
This is a lot of firsts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so Tyler is Symbio Bro, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
You probably recognize that handle from over the
Holy
years.
cow. I mean, I don't know Tyler, but I know Symbio Bro.
Yeah. And by the way, since Tyler, aka Symbio Bro, is here, I do owe you some money for all this times I've been claiming that Kindred was Gwen Stacy and was totally wrong.
Harley Cooper.
Wait, did you actually bet money on that?
No.
Oh, because I'm like, I
They
swear,
might
you
have.
actually,
I don't know.
you actually bet money on the identity of a
No.
comic book character.
No.
Here, let me
I've
get some
back and
comments
forth
going
on
real quick.
Discord.
Nap
We
says
argue back and
hi.
forth on this.
Vinkman says greetings and salutations. What's going on, Vinkman? Nap, I am a super fan. Awesome, Nap.
Oh, nice.
Sofalo says Gleason's art is awesome. I would agree. No drinking and podcasting, Neil. This isn't a Dan Slott book.
Yeah, true.
Just wait.
Adam says, "What's up?" Hey, Adam, what's up, man? Yep, Gleason's killing it. He says,
Nope.
"Oh yes, anime. Mountain Dew does have a cookbook. I have seen that, and I think that would make a great Christmas gift. I think that would be fun. However, I don't want to actually cook the items. I want to eat the items, so I don't know how that works.
So there was this one guy on Twitter who marinated his food in Mountain Dew, and I felt bad. I felt sick on his behalf.
Mary says, super excited to hear what the gang thinks of this current arc. All right, Mary, we're going to hit it. JR just doxed Tyler. Okay. Is that bad? What does dox mean?
Yeah, I had to look it up. It said search for and publish private or identifying information. I didn't call him Tyler. Brad called him Tyler.
True.
It just said Symbio Bro, and then Brad goes, "Hey, have you met Tyler?" So, hey, Doug, you take that back, Adam Winchell. Are you related to Walter Winchell, by the way?
JR, look at Tyler's name. There's Tyler. I just put Tyler by it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's official now.
Wait, you can do that? Oh my god, I didn't even know you could.
Oh, yeah, you can change
Neil,
it.
what do you want me to call you?
Ooh, that gives Brad a disturbing power that I didn't realize he had.
Uh-oh.
Caleb. Let me
They took
try.
away the names. We're all anonymous now. Okay.
When I
Yay.
put a comment up, it
Top,
goes away.
your top left. Oh,
So I want to say something. If someone is doing a review, say JR starts us, I think that kind of looks cool.
I do too, actually.
What do you think?
I approve.
Yeah.
You like that? They'll have the floor.
Oh, I got Mike Wazowski with the.
Mike Wazowski. All right, is everybody ready?
I think so.
yeah.
Yep.
Ryan Reed in the house. What's up, sir? All right, coming down 3, 2. Hey, wait a minute. There, I'm back in my spot. Okay.
I'm back on top, baby.
Coming down 3, 2. Hey, Crawlspacers, welcome to our review show that you guys have been looking forward to. I've had so many requests to review all these books. We had to get this out ASAP. So let's introduce the panel. We've got Neil. What's going on, sir?
I'm tired, and I'm looking forward to reading some good comics.
6 of them tonight. We're going to plow through them in 2 hours is our goal.
Wow.
And Kelly, what's going on, Kelly?
Hey, I'm good. It's Friday the 13th while we're
Oh.
recording, which is very spooky.
Nobody sneeze. Our internet connection may go out.
It may.
Especially in 2020, anything can happen today.
Yes,
it's true.
no doubt. And we have Mike. What's going on, Mike?
Why did Kelly have to mention it was Friday the 13th?
Did nothing go wrong for you today, Mike?
Not yet, but we're
Okay.
experiencing high winds in my area, so who knows?
Mike's gonna get a tree on his house right now. We don't want that. Speaking of wicked witches and houses, JR, what's going on?
Wow.
Oh my.
You know what? I shouldn't even review any comics for you. I should just walk off, and spit in your face, and leave you with like an hour of dead air. But I need you to do me a favor. I need you to permanently ban Peter Palmer 13 from any interaction with the Crawlspace.
Why? What did Peter Palmer do?
Well, Peter Palmer watched the Mary Jane cosplay show on YouTube, and he decided to leave this comment. This podcast is quite easier on the eyes than Spider History or Friday Night Fight.
Not lying, my man.
I have been personally, and not only me has been personally insulted, but our good friend George Berriman has been personally insulted. I want Peter Palmer banned from this site. I want justice for me and George.
I hate to
So
break
here's the thing, though. The Crawlspace Discord is Cuba, and he's a refugee there. So.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say I could just buy you guys all Mary Jane like costumes. I can get you the sparkly dress and the red wig, and then y'all be
JR, I
just
I
like
don't think
it.
we make those in my size, unfortunately.
I don't think I can pull it off.
Old,
JR,
middle-aged, and fat.
I have an alias on the site. My alias is Peter Palmer. I said it. I'm just kidding.
You're the one they wanted to wear the red wig too.
No, that was just me, and Pete was horrified. And
All right, and first time we're reviewing on the amazing book. Welcome, Tyler Symbio Bro in the house. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
All right, buddy.
Got my Agent Venom, up
Yep.
there. So
You literally have a gun to your head from Agent Venom. It's almost like you're married, like JR. I'm just kidding. I don't. It's Heroing says it's official. JR is the Jonah of the Crawlspace. It's true. Javi, what's going on, Javi?
Hey, Javi.
Buddy.
Hey.
Comment says they were called out. That's true. Okay, before we get there, we have not had an Apple podcast review or iTunes, as I always call it. So I think you know what? I should let me remove. No, I don't want to. I'm going to share my screen with iTunes so you guys can see it. Let's add it up there. There we go. Now you guys can see it.
Perfect.
So let me move this. All right, we have a review from Lisette M, November 2nd, 2020. The subject title, The Best Superhero Podcast in the Known Galaxy. 5 out of 5 stars. Hi, my name is Joe, and I've been listening to the podcast since I was 13. You guys are the reason I got into comics, and my love for Spider-Man has grown exponentially since I started listening. One of the best memories is being in the car and listening to George break down Fight Night, specifically when Spidey beat the crap out of the X-Men in Secret Wars. Take that, suck it, JR. All in all, I just want to say thank you all for giving me a place to learn, laugh, and love this character that never ceases to amaze me. And P.S. JR, you're the grandpa I never had.
Aww.
All right,
not sure how to
reaction. JR.
Wow.
Well, I shared that with Spencer, and he was utterly appalled. Since he says I've always hated it when people thought you were my grandfather, and this poor blank sees you as one. So
Well, that was nice. So, and he didn't say how old he was. He says he's been listening to it since he was 13. I would like to know how old he is now, but that is really nice. I imagine maybe if not the whole journey. So I think that's kind of fun. So that was really nice. Lisette, aka Joe, So thank you for writing that review. If you'd like to do a review, just log on to iTunes and we will read it on the air. We haven't had one since February 8th, 2020. So this is November 2nd. We've gone most of the year with that one, but I blame 2020.
It's all on Spotify, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you guys can do that. So let me pull up the cover of our very first. Mike, we're hearing that feedback that we heard last time. If you could wiggle your wire or something, I'm not sure what's going on.
Is it doing this? Is it sound like this?
It sounds like there's like a fan going off in the back.
There is a fan going on. That's my heater. So I can actually turn it off
okay.
for a second.
That's probably exactly what it is.
How's that?
Yeah, that sounds like it's better, much better now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to review. I'm going to lose track of all these numbers. We've got 50 LR, 51 LR, 52 LR. So that's 6 issues, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, JR, you're starting us off with issue 50. We just paid $10 for a comic last month. And how much is this bad boy? This is $5.99. $6. So, JR, take me through this one.
Well, the issue opens with Kindred apologizing not only to Peter Parker, but to all comic book readers for the story not getting to this point for more than 2 years and putting them through Craven's Last Dump, which went way too long, a GOG story no one cared about, a subplot with the Kingpin that went nowhere so far, a storyline betting on superhero fights that has been done before, a story about a device that predicted the future that no one cared about, a 2099 crossover, an Absolute Carnage crossover, a special issue with Scene Eater snake handling father that nobody cared about. But now, finally, the time has come to actually tell the story that we've all been waiting for.
We've been waiting for this one.
And so we see Kindred in a graveyard, and he's digging up the body of George Stacy. But when he gets to the body, he finds out that the head bone was disconnected from the neck bone, and the neck bone was disconnected from the shoulder bone, and the shoulder bone was disconnected from the neck bone. But anyway, I hear the word of the Lord to move on. So now we go to where Spider-Man has just gotten the crap beaten out of him, and he's laying in the rubble drooling. Okay, well, after that brief interlude, we go to our hero, Norman Osborn. If you remember from issue 850, was kicked off the boat, leaving the tunnels of Ravencroft after he exceeded the weight limit, and he went all Joe Biden by sniffing Gwen.
Smells like Teen Spirit. I know. Yeah, I know.
Anyway, so Norman's picking himself up when he goes, of all the times Parker decided to grow a pair, and then the Sin Eater, who's no longer the Juggernaut, bitch, is pointing a rifle at Norman, telling him that his sins are many. And Norman says, "You dumb mother. Don't you know who it is who you're taking orders from? He's not this all-powerful McFarlane-esque Spawn wannabe he's trying to be. Hell, read Spectacular Spider-Man 25. See how much he ripped off Carrion's motif. You know, with this whole, oh, I'm dead and I'm a walking pile of rotting flesh. Ooh, aren't I scary?" But, then Norman says, "But it's not too late, Stan. I'm offering you a choice. Join me. Imagine what we could accomplish together, what we could create." But then he realized that the Sin Eater is unmoved. And Norman says, "I can't fool you. You knew I was ripping off lines from an old movie, didn't you? Well, I'm sorry. It's just these voices inside my head. Echoes of things that you said. And Stuart Copeland's drums." Anyway, I'm so sick. Help me. Then Norman realizes the gig is up and it's time to face the music. And he says, "Ha, you got me. Go ahead and kill him.
Whoa.
He's of no use to me anymore."
He's brought props, double props.
Gay props.
Oh, we killed him.
At least it's not a Ben Reilly toy.
No.
Somebody give mouth to JR. Neil, you're closest.
No. I refuse.
The scene shifts to Doctor Strange's house. Spider-Man crawls to Doctor Strange's house and folds like a cheap suit. And then the scene switches to Kindred visiting the Sin Eater. And the Sin Eater is expecting to go to heaven and meet Jesus and sing with the angels and play harps and stuff. But Kindred says, not so fast. There's one sin you didn't confess to. You won't face the fact that you killed your own partner for doing business with drug dealers. So Kindred sucks all the sins out that the Sin Eater is eating, and he sends them into the bodies of Spider-Man's heretofore utterly useless friends. And he finally makes them somewhat relevant to the story. So anyway, then they all start beating the crap out of Spidey, which brings us to where we found him all laying down and drooling and staggering to Doctor Strange's house. So as Doctor Strange is trying to fix him, he asks, well, Spider-Man, how did you get into this mess? Well, we don't exactly hear what Spider-Man tells Doctor Strange, but then we hear Doctor Strange's reaction. You did what? You made a deal with a demonic entity? And Spider-Man says, well, you'll have to be more specific, Doc. I've made a deal with more than one in my day. And then Doctor Strange goes, don't you realize how stupid that was? Do you want to go through another 100 issues of horribly written stories by a tag team of revolving writers being forced to date a woman with whom you have no chemistry whatsoever because it was a dictate from Joe Quesada, and then get your body stolen by Dr. Octopus all over again? Well, now that you put it that way, but then Silk burst into the sanctimonious sanctorium ready to wreak havoc. Anyway, so now we go to a scene where Kindred is setting a ghoulish dinner table, not only with the skeleton of George Stacy, but that of Gwen as well, who, even though she no longer has any skin on her bones, has a full head of hair and her headband.
That headband cannot be destroyed.
Agreed.
So back at Ravencroft, Norman wakes up, and Dr. Kafka, or the clone of Dr. Kafka, finds him, but he's not evil anymore. He's gentle, sensitive Norman.
Oh.
Getting in touch with his sensitive side. And he begins to look back on a lifetime of regret. Oh no, what have I done? Everything is my fault. All this madness and mayhem, it's all my fault. Kindred, we have to find him before he burns the city to the ground. And we can't tell the authorities because they'll only want to hurt him when all he needs is help. And Dr. Kafka asks, wait a minute. If he's going to burn the city to the ground, why are you so concerned about helping him?
Because
it's like Dark Mark has been saying all along, all this time. Through more than 2 years of false starts, delays, and mediocre stories.
Say his name.
He's my son.
Yeah.
First, we attack his heart.
Kendrick looking in a mirror, and the reflection of Harry Osborn looks back at him. To be continued.
Ryan Reed loves this. Mary says remorseful Norman Osborn, smiley crying face. All right. JR, you ate up the scenery, ate up the furniture with that. So what's your grade? Come on.
Well, I gave it a B+. I gave it
Whoa!
Yeah.
Is it because the cover was good?
Look at you. Look at you.
Well, because I think it finally realized the goodness that lies within the heart of Norman Osborn.
The hero he always was meant to be.
All right, let's go around the horn. Tyler, what would you give that for a grade?
I'd give it an A. I think the story's fantastic, and just even the art Gleason's art just shines in this. Like there's that one specific panel of him with a mask.
The half face like Spidey does. Yeah. Mike, what's your grade? Oh, hold on, Mike. I've muted you. Hold on. There you go. You're unmuted, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh, this will be short. I'm giving it a B+ also.
B+.
Same as JR.
Kelly, what do you give it for a grade?
A-. I really like it.
Neil, grade?
Flat A.
Make it 2 flat A's. I liked it a lot too.
All right,
Well,
my
I
flat
liked
A
it a
doesn't
lot.
count, I guess.
Tyler doesn't count.
Oh, make it 3. 3 A's. I'm sorry. Just when he said flat A, I don't know. That just sounded different than what Tyler said. Tyler was like a curvy A. If you were, never mind.
No, no.
Let's not go down that. We might be demonetized. Okay, JR, I want to hear your pros. This is a Norman we've never seen before. He was nice.
Well, and that is a positive.
Yes.
I'm curious because it's something different. Although I'm very disappointed because the cover reveal for an issue several months down the line indicates he may turn evil again, and that will just break my heart.
No, it won't.
Finally, it's the story we've been waiting for. It's the kickoff we've been waiting for. The chapter 1 of the story we've been waiting for. So that's, so it was very positive. And it is on a great cliffhanger. I mean, you got to love the cliffhanger, even though, and I forget who said, Adam Winchell says, I believe both George and JR called it as Harry beforehand.
Yeah.
But I think I'm trying to think. I
And
think
Mark
might have been the first one first.
Yep.
To actually pull the plug on it, but no, it was a great reveal. Even though we knew it was coming, I mean, we're glad it was what it was. Hopefully,
Are you happy? Are you happy it's Harry?
Yes,
you are. Okay.
Yeah. For one, because the clues were honest. Even if the fact that we guessed it beforehand, I mean, we should be able to guess it in a way, or we should be able to look back and say that makes sense. Unlike some of Slot's mysteries, which what?
Yeah.
It's me, Ben Riley. It was me all along.
It's me, Norman Osborn, with plastic surgery.
Oh yeah,
It's me, Dr. Octopus. I did it all along. I saved Parker Industries. Yay!
JR, and what's your theory? How is Harry above the ground? Who is that Harry that we've seen for the last 10 years?
Well, I don't have any. I mean, I don't have any creative thoughts in my own head. I only know the best one I've read so far, and I think it's been said on this show too that's the Harry that died, and the other Harry, the one that's been running around, is not the real Harry, or is a double or whatever. But it's the Harry who died at the end of Spectacular 200 is the best that I've heard.
Also, there was a mention of a deal with the devil here. We haven't touched that in 10 years. Mm-hmm. What do you all think of that?
Very on the nose, and I think it's going somewhere.
I'm excited.
Well,
I am too.
Especially if you get into the later issues too. I mean, because
we'll get into that.
We'll talk about that when I'll talk about that in 52.
But no, with the points that he was making about it had to be Harry. Like I was saying for a long time, it had to be one of two people. It was either Harry Osborn or it was part of Peter Parker's soul. And those are the only two options that made sense to me at all. Especially after that, the Norman Osborn conversation in Ravencroft. It narrowed it down to just those two.
Yeah.
And so
Go
ahead, Neil.
To follow up on what JR said about it being Harry, I am very glad that Spencer didn't do a red herring. I know that a bunch of people, the Absolute Carnage tie-in kind of made people think and go back and doubt themselves, but I am very glad that Spencer played it honest and he didn't try to do some massive pivot to a different character at the last minute. I very much appreciate that.
Well, it also addresses something that Spencer has been saying about this arc the whole time. It says it's not a matter of who, it's a matter of why. Because we know who Kindred is, but we don't know why he's necessarily doing this and how he got this way either. I mean, we can talk about a bunch of theories and stuff like that.
This is the evil Harry that sent the demonic parents. Is this right, JR? Is this?
Well, I mean, theoretically, if this is the Harry that died, then this is the Harry that went bonkers and did the robot parent storyline and things.
Well,
like that.
There's a couple ideas I do have. It can still be the Harry who died, and it still be the one we saw in Brand New Day, because you can have a thing where maybe Harry got a hold of the tablet of time and life and death or something, and that's how he got his powers that way, or it gets into later issues. We're going to talk about more. There's another, especially the end of one issue, really kind of pops up another theory.
What do you want to say, Kelly?
That I was about to discuss the other theory, which Yeah, we should probably hold that until 52 because that's
Mhm. Yep.
it gives credence there. But that's my main theory at this point.
Here
Mhm.
is something curious. Adam wants to know: does Peter remember the Mephisto deal or not? Did he?
Nope.
Say,
I
do you
don't
think
think
he
so.
said
No.
that?
No, he does not.
He does not.
We'll talk
He
about that later,
specifically
but
does not.
someone
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
does.
How did he say that he made a deal with a demonic figure? Then what was Strange referencing then?
I think it was referencing what he did with Sin Eater. Like he made a pact with Sin Eater by giving him Norman.
Yes.
I don't.
Oh.
I,
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
that's how
Yeah.
I interpreted it, at least.
Well, I think that's what Peter interpreted it as, but like as we get into my review, it's very clear that there's something over Peter
Yeah.
that Strange can sense about One More Day.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so that's kind of where we're getting into is that this is unraveling thanks to
Yep.
Kindred.
No doubt.
Mhm.
All right, to keep it at a good pace, let's keep going. Mike, you've got the next issue, right?
Yeah, and this actually will be very short because, like I said, not much happens here.
Exactly. Except
because this-
$4 left your wallet.
Yeah. This is co-written by the way, by Michael Rosenberg, and we get an art shift as well. So to keep this simple, we have two things going on. One is Norman Osborn, still contrite, still kind of saying, "Oh, woe is me! I did such terrible things to my son Harry." He's basically talking to Dr. Kafka, and how he's like, "Oh, I mean, everything that's happening is all my fault." It's like this is everything that he's doing is a result of what I've done and everything like this. And throughout the story, we're also getting a flashback to what happened between Spider-Man and his fight with the now possessed Order of the Spiders. And Kindred apparently is speaking through Julie Carpenter, aka the worst psychic in the world, because essentially, and basically, again, once we get more Kindred taunts, like, "Oh, this is all your fault. See, all your sins are coming back to get you, Peter, and here I'm coming for you," and blah blah blah, and everything. And during the fight, because they're inside Norman Osborn's like that goblin sub thing that they took. During the fight, the front portal window shatters, and water basically starts flooding in, and so Spider-Man nearly drowns, but he manages to get back up to the surface again. I mean, even though he was probably in the Hudson River, it's probably gross and stuff and everything like this, but he manages to get up and everything like this. But then all the other Order of the Spiders also survive. And they're standing over him, and Kindred speaking through him and says, "Oh, we could easily destroy you now, but we're gonna tease it out a little bit more. Right now we're gonna say so. In the meantime, we're just gonna wreck the city, and just go havoc. That way you can have more guilt gets piled upon you and everything like this. So you'll be begging for us to, begging for death at the end." And that's when Spider-Man, then we zoom back what we saw in issue 50, where he essentially goes to Doctor Strange. Or does he? We'll get to that in a minute. Then by the end of this issue, again, as Norman Osborn's bearing his soul to Dr. Kafka, and Dr. Kafka says, how are you going to help your son? And then Norman's like, "Well, I can't do it. Harry's going to blame me and everything like this." And he says, and he can't really turn to Peter because he's mad at him. There's only one person that Harry can turn to. And we cut to the issue of a plane returning to New York, and it is Mary Jane Watson finally coming out of her now canceled
her long lost
Mary Jane out of witness protection.
After witness protection, now coming back into the story proper. So, and that's the conclusion of the issue. So.
Real quick, let's go around the horn for grades, and I want to comment on something. What's your grade, Mike?
I'm giving this a B-. Not as good as the first one, but it's all right. It is what it is.
JR?
I gave it a C+.
Okay, Tyler?
You give it a B+.
Kelly?
B+.
Neil?
B+.
C+ out of me. What's up with this cover? And look at Spider-Woman over here with that goofy new costume. Someone said in comment, looks like Maddie Franklin.
It does.
And when you go to the issue, she's got her other costume on. Look at that.
I want to point out that they switch between costumes on the covers, and I think within the book, because I think in I don't know, is it in the later issues? But I think she turns into her into her new solo costume. I could be wrong though, but it's very inconsistent on the covers.
Oh yeah, very much so.
We'll talk about this a little bit in Satellites, but I have a feeling there was probably some discussion, probably before COVID, and then somewhere along the lines of 2020. Carla ultimately decided she wanted to keep the Spider-Woman series with the new suit. But for some strange reason, that had to have been a lot of confusion, because I don't understand how every different artist has a different costume for her during this arc without that, because it makes no sense.
It is a good laugh.
It's like they need something called like a style sheet, if you will.
Or an editor.
Yeah.
Yeah, an editor.
I mean, that's asking for too much, Brad. Come on, this is 2020. We can't have editors anymore.
Mike, your pros out of this one?
Actually, I mean, I did kind of like some of the dialogue between Kafka and Norman. I mean, getting a little more of the, I mean, it's interesting seeing Norman being this more open and kind of contrite, basically like this, essentially kind of getting more. Seeing Norman as a good person and seeing and doing his self-examination is an interesting take. And also, I did like the cliffhanger at the end. It's like, oh, Mary Jane is actually getting involved in the story. So those are my two big ones there. So there was this one about the art. I do think even though it's a little bit on the sketchy side, I think it's kind of fits appropriately for the story in general. So yeah.
Let's hear some other pros. What did you guys like? The Norman part.
I was just going to mention the art, where it's this is the same artist, I believe, who did the Miles Morales Absolute Carnage issues. And it's just got this real nice angular style to it, and I just really dig it. I think it really helps with the action and whatnot, and it's really striking. I think.
Yeah, we've been talking about who will take Otley's place on the art roster, and I think Bagley has been one of them. But if Vicentini took over, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I'm indifferent about it. His art doesn't turn me off. It doesn't turn me on. So anyway, other pros.
Cliffhanger. Spencer over the course of his career has mastered the art of the cliffhanger. Like every time I get to the end, I want to see what happens next time, and that's part of the job of a monthly comic book writer.
That's true. He did a good job with that. Anytime teasing Mary Jane, something new with Mary Jane, that's always a plus. Go ahead, Neil.
And going off of that, someone in the comments made a point of taking this book and pushing the Spider Family into that book and leaving Peter to deal with Kindred on his own in the main book. That's a plus, because I could have easily just had it intersecting constantly, and I'm glad they're kind of separating the two for a while. I know eventually they're going to converge, but I'm glad that Peter's getting the spotlight in his own book.
In defense of that, Neil, if you're going to trim the fat, these LR books are the fat. You could read the regular books and not need to know what happened in them, I suspect.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying that I'm glad that Peter's getting the spotlight in his solo title and not being forced to share it with the Spider Family.
Yeah. Mike, let's do cons. I mean, that was my biggest con, is these really feel like a cash grab and a stretch of a story that doesn't need it.
They do, and this is where you're going to start seeing the padding come in here really heavily. And I would also actually point out the other thing is too, this fight that Peter actually has with the possessed spider people. Yeah. We could have gotten that in the previous issue, because the previous issue, I mean, it is kind of like, oh, they get possessed, and we don't see what happened there. And then this one shows it. Do
we even need the spider people in the story?
Well.
I'm fine. Real quick, going off that, we could have just had the implication the fight doesn't have to be even on panel. We can kind of imply what happened is that Peter fought the Spider Family, escaped, and got to Doctor Strange's place, and then we could have just kind of pieced together things on our own. I don't think they needed to show the fight scene, but I'm kind of glad we got to see it in a weird way.
Yeah.
I have a theory on that, because as we're reading, we're kind of watching all of this fat get cut away, and I think that that's intentional. So I think that, at least in Spencer's mind, these characters are important in what they're doing is important to show how they are sliding away, because they're there for Peter to realize he needs to make a sacrifice to save them, and then all of a sudden we're somewhere where they can't go. And so then all of a sudden they're no longer relevant, stuff like that. So I understand where people are kind of like, oh man, I want it streamlined. But I think with the way Spencer writes, this is his roundabout way of saying, hey, I'm trying to get us where you guys want us, but I've got to write this in this way. So
because my editor who didn't watch the costume change on the cover wants another $4 out of it every week.
probably, yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing I can figure out. Any other JR cons? What cons do you have? Is it? I would think it's similar to what I just said.
Well, I do want to. Excuse me. I do want to mention a pro in that I'm not much of an art person, but I do like the last page, the last panel, the Mary Jane. I think I'm curious as to what Chi-Town thinks of that one. Because I mean, I think that's a really good Mary Jane.
I'm pretty sure he liked it, didn't he?
Yeah,
Let me go back to the Discord. I'm gonna look.
Just look at his review.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
JR cons. What's your cons?
The fight. I mean, it just. The fight was too. I mean, it really added nothing, and nothing was said. It's just,
it's
just
three-fourths.
Yeah, it's just the same thing over and over. It's like, oh, your sins are coming back to haunt you. Ha ha ha! Bam, bam, bam. And then even the Norman stuff. Probably it could have been shorter. Yeah. I mean, he said a lot of the same things over and over again. I mean, I like the fact that like I said, it's like. It's nice to see him be contemplative, and I can actually kind of relate to, it's like, what have I done to my kids? You never, no matter who you are, even if you're not Norman Osborn, that goes through the minds of every parent.
Neil, you're right.
There was a fly in front of my face, and I wanted to kill it.
But you're doing a Ralph Macchio, get some chocolate.
Without me, I muted it so you guys couldn't hear it.
Any other comment on this one before we move on?
No.
All right, Kelly's got the next one.
Right.
Good looking Gleason cover. It's very
know.
psychedelic.
I wish it was made into a poster. I would have bought it day one.
Oh yeah,
cool.
no, this needs to be a poster. I thoroughly enjoyed it. That was like one of my notes was like amazing Gleason cover.
I give it a B, Brad.
I was about to say, isn't that almost Ditko-esque and it's psychedelic?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, it was creations right there.
Love the coloring.
Yeah. All right, so Doctor Strange and Spidey are fighting the mutated / possessed Silk. Kindred is talking through her and introduces himself to Strange, explaining that Peter knows exactly who he is and taunts about how Peter has been running from the truth. However, I don't quite know if Peter even knows what truth Kindred's talking about. He also, in my notes, I wrote that he slightly quoted police every breath you take, which I appreciated in that line. But Peter realizes he's got to take some responsibility here and take Kindred on himself and clean up this mess because it's affecting everyone around him. He asks Strange for help to find Kindred, and Strange agrees. They choose to use the hand of Vishanti, giving him access to the astral plane, something Peter kind of was hoping for. This time they're using it to basically, when Strange is trying to use it, he's realizing that since Peter made a deal with the devil, it's not going to work. So Strange kind of gets really mad because at this point, Pete has just lied every step of the way to Strange and has not really explained everything. And so Strange kicks Pete out, which I wrote was fair. And while Strange goes to investigate what else he can do to help out and get these people fixed, he turns around to find someone stole the hand of Shanti. Turns out that Pete got some help from Felicia, and with Black Cat stealing the hand and recording the incantation, they help send Peter into his dreamscape. It's changed a little bit since the last time he was there, and not for the better. MJ shows up, and in my notes I wrote that I didn't go back and reread it, but I'm pretty sure she's quoting herself from One More Day.
Yeah, from ASM 545.
Yeah. And I think, and apparently this has been a reoccurring nightmare for Peter, where he can't save her.
Are you talking about where she says it's okay, Peter? The answer is yes. Is that what you're talking about?
And then they get pulled apart, and he was talking about how it's like a nightmare, and he can't save her no matter what he does. So to me, that kind of read as this has been a recurring dream he's had.
Yeah.
And he gets buried by his sins and regrets, according to Kindred, and wakes up in a shallow grave. in a graveyard. He goes to a mausoleum and finds the party that Kindred has set out for him.
Mm-hmm.
With all of our lovely dead people. I like how the Stacys still have their hair, and they're the only ones that have their hair.
There's Flash.
No,
Okay,
no, Flash.
okay,
Flash.
Flash is there.
They talk about him in the next issue. Flash is bald for some reason.
Yeah, Flash is bald. And that's what I'm saying.
wait,
the
no,
only
hang on,
the only people
that's
that have
Jordan.
hair, literally the only people that have hair is the Stacys. So I'm like, how did their hair like fuse to their skulls? I'm
Magic.
magic.
Yeah.
Where do-
Maybe there you
how-
go.
how-
Question is,
how did
how
Flash rock so fast?
How is it Flash
Yeah.
who died? Is like
War,
a
War does things. War does things to you, Tyler.
I don't know.
See, Mike, that's what I'm saying. Flash, he faked his death. He's alive. He's a fake skeleton.
I
It's a-
agree
it's a
with
wig.
Michael Reed. I think it's a
Wig.
wig too,
Yes.
man.
They're secret. They secretly have alopecia, so it's always wigs.
So Kelly, what's your grade on that one?
I really liked it. I really liked the dreams. Once we got into the dreamscape part, I really liked Felicia being in there and stealing things from Strange. So I give it a solid A. I really enjoyed it.
Neil,
I might be weird here. I'm gonna give it an A+.
Tyler,
Wow. Okay. I was about to do the same thing. A+.
JR.
Well, you know what? I'll give it a B because I did like the art. I mean, I liked. I liked how ominous. I mean, even though it's not his ominous face half the time, I liked how Doctor Strange looked. I just really
Yeah.
did. So somebody who deals in the mystic arts should not be a pinup model. He should kind of have a certain darkness to him.
Yeah.
So
Let's get eyeliner on.
Mike, what's your grade?
A- because for once the plot actually thickens and moves forward. And
Yes.
Yep.
Second A of the night for me, out of me. I'm giving this one an A also. I enjoyed it a lot. We're moving forward, like JR said. Kelly, in addition to that what else pros do you have?
I mean, I like JR said, the art is fantastic. I love it. I love the color direction that everybody everything had. I like the dreamscape. I like how that it's kind of turned into a very decrepit state since the last time Pete remembers it. Because there's all these little hints that basically is showing you, not to go too forward with it, but it's kind of already giving you these hints of this is definitely going into that one more day territory. This is definitely about that deal. And this is, with us now, I guess real world has been about 12 years? Right?
2007, I think.
13 actually.
13 years on Friday the 13th. We're talking about it. Oh man.
Wow.
Black Cat.
Wow.
The issue.
50.
Yeah. But it's just it's been so long, and so it's like, yeah, your dreamscape should look like it's been decaying for decades. And I think too, like, we can't really necessarily state that everybody's like skeleton decayed at a proper pace, because we're not really, from what I understand, we're not really in the real world, and because this is like this layer, very what was that?
An onion.
Inception.
Okay, sure. Yeah, Inception. I was gonna go with Inception, not Shrek, but also yes, Neil, Shrek. But I was gonna go with Inception, about just dream within a dream within a dream.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff, because that's kind of the way this feels, and
Yeah.
I like it. I like how it's trippy. I like how it's just we're kind of slowly cutting away to the fat, and we're getting to a point where it's going to be just Spidey and Kindred, and they're gonna have to finish this fight.
Yeah.
By the way, Kelly, you're probably more right than you know about this having Inception about the comparison with Inception, because when we see Mary Jane there, she is essentially a projection.
Yep.
Essentially. Yeah. And what do you notice in the back behind her?
So, or is this for Kelly, or is it just?
No, everybody.
I mean,
Everybody, what's behind her?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
Let me look. I got it up here. Oh,
It's
there's
the kindred-
centipedes.
The
yes,
kindred
yeah, the
centipede.
Kindred centipedes. Yeah. I mean,
So,
but
which
that's
kind of
all
leads-
through it.
I know, but it kind of leads to a theory. It kind of leads to a clue about Kindred too, about Harry being Kindred, because maybe it's not Harry himself, but maybe it's whatever these centipedes are.
Oh yeah, exactly. I was gonna wait till 52 to say
a
that. I
metaphor.
think it's. I
but I
actually
think
think
that's
it's
the first
every.
hint. That's the first,
Yeah.
And this was
That's the
so
first hint.
obviously homaging one more day.
Oh,
And I've
very
got a picture here. You see the hands right
Yep.
there?
Yep.
That's so in homage to the hands
Oh yeah.
and the
Yeah,
and the
very much
bricks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
this-
that is
this-
so.
Like
This was
we've
JMS
had,
heavy.
yeah, exactly. I was about to say, I think for me that was a big pro for me, just because I'm a big JMS fan, and this issue was just screaming with references towards him, like especially with the Dreamscape reference with the Vishanti hand, and then even all the signs are the exact same from the Dreamscape that
Exactly.
in JMS issue.
Very
Yeah.
much
And
so.
so-
Yep.
And so this issue, like, even though my theory about it being part of Peter's soul was wrong, I think this basically confirms that One More Day is somehow involved with Kindred.
Oh
And
yeah.
Yep.
I'm extremely
Very
excited
much
to see where it
so.
goes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Also, very good use of Felicia and Doctor Strange. Like, I'm
Oh, yeah.
glad Doctor Strange is there, but he's not like overstaying his welcome, like being constantly present and leaning over Peter's shoulder, saying, "Hey, go do this. It's magic." But he's there, kind of leading Peter along, and Peter is sort of like leaving out the details he can until he absolutely can't and is backed into a corner. And then Spencer, I think, has mastered this art also of showing us the end and showing us how we got there by leaving out intentionally that he went to Felicia first and then went to Doctor Strange, and so it kind of puts the whole thing into context when she has the hand of Vishanti. It's very good use of non-linear storytelling on his part.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this one, just the forward progression and just the finally, we may have a hint of this deal with the devil finally ending
Yeah.
or being addressed
Yeah.
or referenced at least. We have hope. That's why my grade's so high. There's hope.
Oh
And
yeah.
the art pretty kick-ass too. So any other comments on this one before we move on?
No.
We're moving at a pretty good tick.
Yeah.
Buddy. I like
Think
this.
so.
Tyler, you got this next one, sir.
All right.
51 Lure.
51 Blur. All right. Give me a second.
Got
Okay.
Miles on the cover. You got the Spider-Woman with her confused costume.
Here we go again.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right?
So we open up with someone, Stan Carter, shooting his partner in the face, and suddenly, look who it is. Sin Eater wakes up. So I don't know how he got here. His men just found him, just lying under Ravencroft, and they brought him to safety. And this is all that he's got left. I guess most of the other Sin Eater hooligans were taken into custody, so he's got a few men left. But he's not done yet, because we got some spider people terrorizing the city.
Yep.
So, yeah, so they're like showing them on their phones. They've got like Miles and Spider-Woman, and all the spiders are fighting the new warriors, or at least two of them. Two of the new warriors are there. So you got Speedball and Night Thrasher getting beat up.
They're
real
the
bad.
old warriors at this point. They
are.
introduced
They
30
are.
years ago.
The new
But no internet gas, and sadly,
yeah
enough.
the new warriors that were canceled, so we will not be seeing them.
Yeah, I was wondering where Safe Space and Snowflake were.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. COVID officially killed those heroes, I guess. So
Didn't get on the ventilator soon enough.
it's all that internet
Neil.
gas.
Al, Neil.
Okay, but yeah. So then they're like, oh, so in the news, like with all these spiders, like where is Spider-Man, like actual Spider-Man? And Felicia's watching this, and sort of we get a recap of where she's been with Spidey the last bit. With him revealing his identity and the hunted, and Doctor Strange shows up because he wants that hand back. He is not happy about her stealing it. Especially this is not the first time she's stolen something from him. So, and yeah, so he takes the hand, but okay, yeah, he takes the hand back, but of course it's a fake, and so. But he decides, because she wants in on helping Peter. Obviously, Peter's in trouble. She wants to help Strange. He's like, all right, fine. And then we cut back to Spider-Man's other love interest, the best love interest, Mary Jane. And she is on stuck in traffic because it's New York. So, but yeah, we sort of go into where she's been, with the Hollywood movie and whatnot in her mini. They sort of don't talk about the whole witness protection thing we left her in the last issue. They sort
They
of
don't talk about
sidestep it.
Montana either.
They do not. They just
No
sidestep it.
Montana reference.
Yeah, so we don't really know what happened there, but I guess they're just.
Do
sort
we
of-
ever need to?
No,
Yeah, it's fine.
The greatest
We're
story
good.
that was never told.
She's back from Hollywood. We're fine. So
Yeah.
So yeah, and she's just talking like the cab driver, and then suddenly a car crashes into their car, and the spiders have found the bridge that she happens to be on, and so they start wrecking things because these demon spiders are pretty good at that. So, but meanwhile, Stan Carter, Sin Eater, he's he's praying about these spiders. He's like, I need you to show me what to do, Lord. And like, I don't know why you've forsaken me, and please help. Anyway, the spiders like completely wreck the bridge. Like they're tearing out all the cables and whatnot, and the bridge is really looking bad. Mary Jane's like really in trouble in this car, and suddenly she has a victor that comes to help her, and it's none other than a heroic Norman Osborn.
JR, this is your cue.
Yeah.
Start
Our hero,
fangirling.
Norman Osborn.
Norman.
Storm
What
and
do they
Norman.
call it? Anyway, go ahead.
Look, we saw what happened after Norman saved Gwen Stacy in the original comic, so
Yeah, he likes to help girls on bridges, doesn't he?
he does.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's there, snap, crackle, pop. Right, yeah.
Yeah. So then Sin Eater starts talking about he's gotten a crazy idea. He's like, you know what? I figured out a way to kill these spiders, and we're gonna need someone who's good at killing spiders. I need to steal his power, and it's I did not see this coming. None other than Morlun himself, the last inheritor.
Moreland,
And that's
the
where we
steampunk
leave it off.
vampire man.
Yeah, good old
All right.
Morlun. As if the JMS vibes weren't strong enough. So
Oh my gosh. So Tyler, what's your grade on this one?
I'll
52.
give this an A. I was not expecting that ending. I'm excited to see where this goes. I love the Felicia and Strange interactions, and MJ's always a pro. So
Yeah. So we have 1A. Neil, your grade?
I'm gonna give it a B plus.
Okay. Kelly?
I would say an A minus.
Mike?
B-, and it's because of that ending.
JR?
Yeah, I gave it a C. I gave it a C plus.
I'm B- area. I'm with Mike on that. That ending was a fart.
No.
We just saw him.
No.
I'm with you, Mike. I don't want to see Moreland. I'd be happy to never see him again.
Oh, there's
Hey,
a whole thing.
look.
There's a whole thing about that.
All right. Go ahead, Tyler. What's your pros? What are you happy about?
Well, I'm just saying the last issue did say I'll be back with Morlun. It was not
Oh my
lying
God.
with that side. But I mean,
And it
like
does
I
get
said,
expanded on in 52.LR. So.
yeah, and like I said, I mean, I basically just lined out the pros, and I'm the JMS fan. I'm the one person here who will defend Morlun, and let me asterisk not slot Morlun, never slot Morlun.
Okay, I'll give you that. I like non-slot Moreland too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I really loved Morlun when he first appeared, and then in the other, I don't think he was as strong, but I still enjoyed it. And but obviously, I think he's been horribly misused ever since. And so, I did enjoy the one side story he got in Spider-Geddon versus Spider-Man when Spider-Man beat him up again.
Mhm.
But then I really want to see what Spencer does with him, because with all the JMS vibes I'm getting, I'm really excited to see what Spencer pulls off with him.
Yeah.
You know, I know it's a controversial opinion, but that's just me.
What raised it up a little bit for me is the Felicia and the Doctor Strange interactions. That's just fun.
Yeah.
That's just fun.
Well, I mean,
But
Yeah, that's
What-
my pro right there.
yeah, me too. Kelly, what were you saying?
I mean, Norman saving MJ is kind of.
yes,
I
that's fun.
really
Very good
enjoyed
twist.
it.
Same.
Yeah, I'm really liking Norman without his sins being very, very much like Normie in MC2 a little bit. So I'm just kind of like, yay.
Yeah. JR, you gave it the lowest grade of all of us. What's your well, give us some pros. What did you like Norman rescuing the redhead on a bridge?
You like Morlun, we know it.
I like the fact that we've returned to a black cat that is is morally dubious, but
Yes.
has a very soft spot in her heart for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You don't like Queen Pen Cat?
Yeah, I don't think anybody did.
You didn't like
So
Murder
it's
Psychopath?
always good to see that she's is genuinely his friend, so that that was probably my favorite part
Yeah.
of the story. I mean, really about the only part I liked. A lot of it was pretty repetitive. Again,
Yes. Cons, Tyler, you gave it an A again, I think, right?
Yep.
Okay, what didn't you like about it? Anything?
I mean, the bridge it did skip around a lot, and then it's just like, oh hey, there's beat up new warrior. And well, I would say that my biggest con is that they don't explain what happened to the Sin Eater. How'd he come back? It was sort of vague what happened.
Can I offer a weird little theory?
Yeah.
I think that Sin Eater isn't part of Kindred's plan anymore, and there's another player putting him back on the field. And if it's going where we think it is, it's someone who doesn't like Kindred going in the direction that he's going in, and is putting Sin Eater back on the field.
You think Sin Eater's got Mephisto in his corner?
I think Mike, I see you shaking your head.
Yeah, here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't put it past Spencer to do that, but at the moment right now, Sin Eater has already served his purpose.
Yeah.
He has no real purpose being
Get
in
him
the
off the
story
board.
whatsoever. He's literally a day late and $1 short at this point.
Yeah.
Because at this point and then we're gonna say, oh, I'm gonna bring in Moreland into this thing. We know it's not gonna work. Because
What if it does though? What happens?
No, because he doesn't have his little magic. I don't think his magic Linkara shotgun works anymore.
Hey, real quick, I want to say thank you to Tony watching from London, England. Loves the podcast. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah.
Really nice.
And like I said, I think my theory is a little crackpot, but I think it is need to think of someone putting Sin Eater back on the field just to mess with his plan.
Until that happens, right now his whole side story, and we get into further issues, it's so disconnected from everything else that's going on, and he's literally behind the curve on every right now. And that's also the thing with Moreland. And I mean, I know this is going to be a hot take, folks, but the best story Moreland was in was his first one. And everything else after that, I think this whole bringing back this whole spider totem stuff and everything. I liked it when JMS made it ambiguous about that. But when it actually became a thing, like it was not ambiguous at all, because if you read the other, no, that's that old spider totem stuff is official. We got more of it with Spider-Verse. We got more of it with Spider Island and all that other stuff and everything. Yeah. I think that kind of diminished a lot about who Spider-Man is.
And the book already seems filled with enough characters. Why introduce Moreland in it? We're already trying to take some out, get Sin Eater out of there. I'm tired of
because
this.
I guess homage. I guess that's what.
I think it's also because they left that open on spec. Was it spec 113 or spec 313, or was it Spider-Geddon number 5 that Moreland was just kind of chilling in Avengers Mountain until they could get him back to?
Well, it was Spider-Geddon. It's last. It's like, hey, let's go, because he was with the New York police after Spider-Man left, and then they're like, well, let's go get him to turn him into a baby too. But then that's the last we saw of him.
They never did anything with it.
No, but we'll see what happens in the next LR
Adam
issue.
totally agrees with Mike. Is what Adam writes. All right.
Yeah.
I mentioned it in the chat, but I believe was it this issue or last issue that Black Cat mentions breaking the Sanctorum? Is it a mention to Spec 118, or is it a reference to her recently canceled solo series because she broke into the Sanctorum then?
I think it's the recent series they're talking about, especially with good. You say recently canceled, but we have another issue of it coming out next week.
Well, that volume's canceled. So I'm still technically correct.
Oh, Brad,
you're muted.
Brad was muted.
Whoops. All right, Neil, we're moving on to this one.
Okay.
52. Take me through this one.
All right, so ASM 52, written by Spencer, drawn by Gleason, colored by Delgado. I think it's Delgado. Okay, so Peter reminisces. Kindred. For months I've had the name scratched in the back of mind. Oh yeah, he did Mysterio. He did Sin Eater. Also, we have this image of a spider and a centipede. That's not imagery at all. Okay, it's time to get to the fight scene. Kindred starts pontificating again. Another long monologue about how Peter's bad, and then he says, "Hey guys, roll call: George Stacy, John DeWolf, Marla, Flash, Gwen, and Uncle Ben." That's right.
Uncle Ben.
This bald, detailless skull. That's Uncle Ben right there, guys. That is a brand run into the ground. All right, Peter's mad.
You don't dig up Uncle Ben, bro.
Well, I mean, Slot did, so this isn't any worse.
Okay.
So Peter's like, "You monster!" and we finally get our first fight scene between Peter and Kindred.
Yay.
I'm willing to forgive how long it took, but now that we're here, it's good to have it. Yes. So Peter and Kindred go at it, and Kindred is brutally outpacing Peter step by step. He's using his caterpillars as Dr. Octopus limbs, and he's beating the crap out of Peter. And Peter goes, "Who are you?" And then
Batman.
and Kindred gives Nick Spencer's New York Comic Con speech of, "It's not who I am, it's what I want and what I've become."
Oh.
And he says, "Hey, you don't know who I am. The readers do, but you don't." So it could be Gwen. And then Peter webs away, and he says, "You're going to get one chance at this." And he does some fantastic little martial arts stunts, and then Peter just goes right for the kill. And he goes right through Kindred. Kindred smiles and he has red eyes. That's nice. And he runs away. And so Peter runs into the Hall of Mirrors, and Kindred says, "You might as well be fighting the mirror." And then he throws Peter into the black mirror, and it's cut to black. Peter then wakes up in what we assume is New York, and he sees Julia Carpenter playing with Doc Ock's fusion reactor from Spider-Man 2. And sees the Spider-Man family tearing the city apart. Jessica Drew is killing a police officer who thought that handcuffs could stop her. Silk and Spider-Girl are staring at each other menacingly, doing nothing. And Gwen is about Gwen. And meanwhile, somehow Peter can look to the bridge, and he can see Gwen about to pull a Gwen Stacy on Miles and throw him over the side.
How do you like it?
How do you like it now?
So for whatever reason, as Peter is screaming no, Gwen decides to pull off her mask for dramatic effect. And she is, I guess, a prop from the 1980s from ILM. and so Peter starts crying. He's from a Steven Universe episode, and he goes, "No, don't do it! Don't do it, Kindred, please! Kill me instead!" And because Peter isn't very specific with his plea bargains, he says, "Take me! Take me!" And Kindred says, "You know what, Pete? You've got a deal." And so Kindred fires off a magic missile, and the demon energy escapes from the Spider family in a hand shape. So Miles wakes up, and he saves himself from getting Gwen Stacy by the concrete feeling of the water. Everyone looks like the dog from Little Rascals as they're staring off in wonder. And Peter goes, "Thank God, they're all okay." And then Kindred says, "Now about that deal, let's go face the truth together." And in a move that will make Wonder Woman proud after killing Maxwell Lord, Kindred snaps Peter's neck. Bam! To be continued.
Wow.
Oh, there goes Mike. I killed Mike.
So, I tell you what, man, that bridge, there's a lot of snapping going on. I mean, what is it? What do the kids do?
Jazz hands?
What?
What do the kids do?
What kids? What kids do you hang out with, Neil?
What are you?
I don't know what Brad is doing. What are you doing?
Like, I applaud you, but it's this.
Oh, snap fingers. Yeah.
The kids don't do that. What kids are you
Yeah.
talking about?
All right, maybe it's Missouri kids.
What is
Feel
this, a
free
slam-
to
this is a
insult the
slam
joke, Jr.
What the?
All right. Anyway,
What Missouri kids are doing that? You've got me curious now. This is what the episode is about now. We're talking about this now.
They must watch the Goofy movie sequel where
That's what I'm thinking.
college.
There's a sequel
Where
to
Max
the movie.
is
That I
playing in
didn't
the X,
know.
where Max is playing in the X Games against.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Neil
Nick.
snapped his neck at the end. My goodness, what a cliffhanger! You were
What
just
a
talking about
twist.
Spencer. Spencer gives good cliffhangers. This is a good one. Okay, Neil, what's your grade, sir?
A+.
Oh, ooh, wow. Okay, Kelly.
Stop that.
Very, very solid A. I'm holding my A
A.
plus for the conclusion that I'm hoping is going to be
All
satisfying.
Tyler,
I have an A minus.
A minus. Jr.
I give it a B.
A B. Mike.
I'm giving it a B plus. I won't quite give it an A yet, but
A minus for me. Not as strong as the previous, but pretty good ending. Pretty good ending. Neil, pros. Why is it such an A plus for you, sir?
So for this issue in particular, the art really stood out to me. There's a couple of weird panels, like I mentioned. For whatever reason, Silk and Anya are just staring at each other, doing nothing in their havoc wreaking of New York. But
They're
otherwise,
fighting. It shows you in the next panel they're fighting.
okay.
Neil
They're just
cares not.
staring. Oh yeah, I see it now. But the fight scene between Peter and Kindred was excellently drawn. It was excellently choreographed. It lasted just long enough to make its impact. And I don't think Peter was deliberately trying to kill Kindred. I think someone implied that, but like he went just for a gut punch and it went right through it. It was visceral. It was great. Once again, excellent pacing of this issue. It finally feels like the stakes aren't continuously escalating now. We're finally getting we're finally hitting that climax before kind of going down to the resolution instead of just constantly like escalate. We've been for the past 4 or 5 issues now. It finally feels like it's hit what it can, especially with that final page reveal of Spider-Man getting his neck snapped.
Yeah,
very good use of pacing. I was a little confused at first when Peter wakes up. I wasn't sure if it was the real world or not, or if it was just another layer to the mindscape. But that didn't like ruin its impact for me because I thought it was still an excellent use of. I do think that Peter's lack of specificity with demon deals is coming back to haunt him yet again. So that's I don't want to call that a continuity detail, but it's something he consistently does.
Right.
You know what I liked about this fight?
What's that?
It's the amount of Kindred, with the amount of trolling that Kindred did to Peter and to the readers. Because even though we know that Kindred is supposed to be officially Harry, he kept doing things like, "Oh, well, maybe I'm one of these dead people that I've gathered," and they do a close-up
trying to
win.
troll Peter, yeah.
Or maybe I'm like you, maybe I'm like a reflection or something of you, Pete. Like do it like he's still tossing in all the different theories that people have had about Kindred over the past 2 years and throwing it back in Spider-Man's face.
However,
and it's just
maybe he's still trolling us. Do we believe the word of Norman Osborn that it's Harry?
Well, here's the thing. I think
have we seen any evidence besides the crazy Norman Osborn saying it?
But I think here's the thing. I think Norman is being honest, but I don't think he knows the full story.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna go off of that, like Harry is part of Kindred. If we're still going with my old Soltron theory, then Harry is.
Wasn't that a great show in the 70s?
Yeah, that was go. but Harry would be part of Soltron, and the part of Soltron that presents itself to Norman.
I just got it. Neil's on the show. I get it. We must call Transformers.
No, it's Voltron.
That's Voltron.
Oh,
that's
another. Not the first one to mention Transformers. I'm sorry, Neil.
It's the other big robot. Come on, Brad.
Not bad.
It's a Gundam, guys. I promise.
It's like what if James Brown was a robot? He'd be Soltron.
Also, there's something I forgot to mention. I appreciate that Peter is willing to like take the fall. Like with the Spider family kind of, I guess, suffering in a way for his actions, he's willing to step up and take responsibility. I thought that was very good of him to do it.
Yeah. Other pros, what else did we like? Citros is happy to see the favorite panelists. There you go, JR. Big JR reunion fan club going on.
So I have a pro, which is the very kind of, because one of the first kind of major sins is, even though it's not really Pete's fault, is the death of Gwen Stacy. And so I really appreciated that last splash page with the snap at his neck, because that is definitely a callback to Gwen Stacy's death.
Right.
So I appreciate all of the thought that went into the artwork of this entire series, but like certain elements of the fights were really good.
Kindred just like, look, someone got thrown off a bridge, someone's neck's got to get snapped. So,
also something kind of neat is that in ASM 24, Peter wakes up before he realizes that the Mysterio Kindred killed was just the therapist and not the other way around. But I like that Peter still thinks that it's Mysterio that Kindred killed. Very good attention to detail and continuity on Spencer's own run.
So this is obviously a fake out. Do you think Kindred is going to walk Spider-Man through the deaths of the people that he regrets that were around the table? So I
think Kindred's taking Peter to meet Mephisto.
The Hell Realm.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Mike? What is he doing?
I think he's taking him to see, because remember he says, "Oh, you got a deal, Pete." Like he's like, I think he said something like, "Let's go together" or something like that. I think he's taking Spider-Man to meet Mephisto. But he needed to. But Spider-Man, of course, needs to die first in order to get there.
Well, maybe here we go. Let's go face the truth together.
There you go. Yeah, I agree, Mike. Maybe he'll take him through the famous deaths, and your biggest regret was ASM 545. Remember this one? Oh, you know? Well, this is what happened. I'm an editor's note villain.
Also, Mike's favorite psychic ever, Julia Carpenter, continues to be useless. She just stands around with the fusion generator.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
yeah.
basically doing her like old Messiah pose, basically. Like, oh, I'm gonna wreck some stuff.
She kind of reminds me of like a character from Doom Eternal, just standing there waiting for the main character to come and shoot her.
She's basically doing Tetsuo's Kira pose, basically what she's doing.
I still stand by my statement that she basically is the embodiment of witch talk.
Mm-hmm.
Hex the moon, baby.
Wow.
And I
You
will
all are
say,
talking a foreign language. I'm not understanding.
I will say my
Yeah.
one real negative is that it's the reason I gave it A-. I was sort of confused why out of nowhere suddenly the spiders started fighting each other. They hadn't done that in any of the other issues. Now they're just fighting each other.
Yeah,
They ran out of.
I didn't
they
get
ran out
that
of bridge
either.
They ran out of bridge.
They
to
had
build.
to, they had to. I guess they had to do Spider-Gwen doing the. I'm gonna do a reversal on Miles. Yeah. It was like
That's why I gave it A-. I just thought that was one thing was weird.
You made out with me. You deserve to die.
Well, it also could just be that Kindred is making them fight just to
Yeah.
for whatever sake. I mean, if this is really Harry, like Harry does have a flair for dramatic, and that is very dramatic. So
Yep.
Because they are essentially his drones.
yeah.
So
Yep.
Yeah. Any other comments on this one before we move it on?
Again, Patrick Gleason's great on the art on this thing.
So good.
Yeah.
That whole fight scene is beautiful, and then Spider-Man in the darkness with just his eyes. Oh,
Yeah.
love it.
Mhm.
also Delgado's coloring really sells the shadows too.
Oh, yeah.
Like it could have easily just been like really bright pastels, like Matt Wilson did in ASM 32 and 33.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But instead they chose to do like muted color palette, and I really appreciate that.
So we started with JR. We are ending with JR. JR, take us through issue 6. There you go, buddy.
Well, this one isn't nearly as fun as the first one. The first one was a lot more fun. So, but all right, issue 52 lure, as Brad likes to call them. We open in a lab where a couple of the Sin Eater's goons are stealing something when one of them says, "Hey, I did up this baseball bat just like Jeffrey Dean Morgan on The Walking Dead. Let's try it out on this lab technician here." And after going all Negan on the lab technician, the goons escape, while at Ravencroft, a rescued Mary Jane wakes up and comes face to face with our hero, Sensitive Norman.
Sensitive Norman.
But she
There you go.
doesn't
That's
know.
the name of his new ongoing book. Not Amazing Norman, Sensitive Norman.
Is this like the opposite? Is this the opposite of Storm and Norman? Because we've got Storm Norman now. We have Sensitive Norman.
Sensitive Norman, but she doesn't know just how sensitive he is yet. So, just when the story's getting interesting, then we have to have another diversion to the Spider Losers, who are waking up from their kindred-induced mania after destroying a chunk of New York and kicking the butts of the friggin' worthless New Warriors who don't belong in this story any more than they belonged in this one of the Clone Saga stories 25 years ago. But I digress. And Doctor Strange shows up to help. So, boom, we go back to Ravencroft, where Mary Jane is freaking out in the presence of Norman Osborn, and she whacks him with a lamp. And
Almost
Norman
like they have a
says,
history.
"Back in the old days, I would have ripped your red hair out by the roots and strangled you with it. But I'm sensitive, Norman."
Wow.
And then he says that Peter is in danger because of Harry, which catches Mary Jane's attention. Well, Black Cat joins the Spider Losers and Doctor Strange, and they ask Doctor Strange why he's here. And Strange goes, "Well, because I'm going to be Peter's mentor in the next Spider-Man movie. And with Marvel, it's never too early to start shilling. And just wait to see how many more times I show up in the Spider-Man titles over the next year." So back at Ravencroft, Mary Jane is having none of this sensitive Norman stuff. Not even when Dr. Kafka tries to explain that he was cleansed by the Sin Eater. Norman tries to explain that this is all about Peter and Harry. And Mary Jane says, "Well, the last time I saw Harry, he was doing just fine, considering how much you screwed him up." And Norman says, "Mary Jane, when did you last see Harry? Have you even seen him since Brand New Day began more than 10 years ago? He's never in the titles anymore anyway, let alone in the same room with you, you know?" But be that as it may, because I'm wondering, when did Mary Jane last see Harry? I don't remember. Kelly apparently does, because she raised her hand.
So did Neil. Wouldn't it?
Yeah,
It was-
but
No, wait.
I don't care what Neil. I'd rather hear what Kelly thinks. But,
Oh, no,
Evidently,
I
it's falling
mean,
on Kelly.
so just off the top of my head, I do remember. Of course, this is like way back in
Poor Neil.
like beginning of slot times, but it was like, didn't he go to like her bar the time she was like managing a bar and he was managing a coffee shop because that was a thing?
Yes, yeah, I think
Yeah,
It was like
right.
it was in the
He did.
ASM 620s, I believe.
Yes, yeah. So
you go.
they've
There's your
seen
answer.
each other. They've seen each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I wanted to say ASM Volume 4, number 15, but that's
Mhm.
wrong
Mm.
because she
Yeah.
wasn't there.
I
Yeah.
vaguely recall even during Worldwide, I think they might have, because I specifically remember, because I'm the Agent Venom guy, I remember MJ and Harry talking, and then they're talking about, like, I wonder where Flash is. It's like he's out of this world or something, and he's in,
it was
space during that.
I think it was ASM 789 when.
So,
he-
are you guys
when they
talking
were-
about when Harry last saw Mary Jane or
Yes.
Norman?
Harry.
No,
Yeah.
it was when
Time
Harry.
Norman talked to the Mary Jane. Was that when he was Red Goblin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JR, continue. We've
All right.
figured out the last time they talked.
So anyway, we find out the Sin Eaters goons have actually stolen a plot device from Spider Island. And it's a biological weapon from the Queen. What was that?
Neil just chugged. I had to show it.
Why?
You held that
I'm a
back.
good boy.
I'm sorry, JR.
I
I'm
was about to say,
distracting
is my rendition so boring that you have to go back to
Well-
go to have a full screen of Neil chugging?
Well,
You know,
no, it's-
I mean,
college student, that was a chug.
come see Neil chug. You know, I mean, that it's like
I was thirsty.
I had to full screen it. Like the dude was throwing it back.
If I can be so bold, it was your story is so compelling that Neil is at the edge of his seat just chugging things and excited.
It inspired me.
yeah, well, nice try. But I can just
JR, I'm on
I
your
can just
side.
see, I can just see it now. Brad will change the advertising of this to you know, we talk about 6 issues of Spider-Man, but that's irrelevant because come see Neil chug. You know, it's like,
Oh no!
you know, and then we'll have like patron. You know, I mean, if you want to see Neil chug, you saw Neil chug a Mountain Dew. If you want to see Neil chug a beer, you know, pay $5 a month. You know, and
That was
Do a handstand and do a 2-liter.
you want to see
to
Neil
be
chug
fair-
whiskey?
To be
Scotch?
fair, hang on, JR. To be fair, you're not that far off from our last satellite episode.
Here, I'll put 2. I'll put 2 over my face because like what the-
I'll
ahead,
bridge with
JR.
you.
Go ahead. I apologize for
All
the
right.
chug. What a weird.
So
sentence.
anyway, it's like, well, so the Sin Eater, you know, bust open the plot device, turns his henchmen into spiders, you know, and basically I assume to draw Moreland in, he's going to feed Moreland, you know, spiders because Moreland's been hungry for so long, you know, and of course we've all been waiting to see Moreland come back. So, you know, he's going to feed Moreland and get him all nice and fat. Then he's going to steal Moreland's powers, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, so Strange and the Black Cat and the Spider Losers go to the astral plane.
Love it.
And we find that they're being watched over by apparently evil Mary Jane from a couple of issues before. That's the only person I can think it is. Whatever Mary Jane. Well, Kelly says no. So because otherwise I have no idea who it is. You know,
Who is it, Kelly? Who do you think?
sort of right. It is MJ, but it's not a couple issues ago. It's about 13 years ago.
It's the same outfit she's wearing in One More Day, and
Yeah.
It is.
I told Kelly this or I didn't tell her, but we talked about it. That MJ asked Mephisto for her to remember everything, but Mephisto never said how she'll remember.
Yeah, you did say that. I mean, I kind of also figured that out by reading it, Neil.
Mhm.
Yes,
That's
you
why I
are
said they
right.
were talking. That's why I said we were talking about. I'm
See,
sorry.
this is where the Inception parallels come in with this MJ being in the astral plane. Because think of the astral plane as your subconscious or your dreamscape or how it was limbo and stuff like that. So all of Peter's memories and stuff like this are because everybody has like an apparently according to Marvel, everyone has their own access to the astral plane through their subconscious, and we all have our little corner, and this is Pete's little corner that he's kind of filled up with all this stuff. So when he made that deal with Mephisto, remember, it wasn't it wasn't his soul, it was his marriage, and the marriage was a big part of Peter's memory. And I'm thinking when that happened, it kind of made things open to an infestation, a parasitical infestation, if you will. That's why we're seeing all this weird centipede stuff going on.
No doubt. By the way, people are like, "Good job, Kelly. You can take the night off." They're wearing the same outfit. Good job. Nice catch.
Yep.
Well, she ought to be playing Spider Trivia then, or Spider Jeopardy or whatever. If she can, string these variables from
It's
a trick, Kelly.
I am horrible with numbers and remembering dates, so I would be.
He just wants another.
But you do remember the clothes that Mary Jane wears. Well, that's what you guys were talking. That's what you guys were talking about in that podcast with the Mary Jane cosplayers, right? Mary Jane's clothes.
Exactly. Yeah. I know her clothes. I know her wardrobe very well.
Right. Yeah.
George, add it to the pool. Add it to the pool. Yep. Spider Jeopardy question.
So I didn't hear a grade out of JR. You gave a recap. What's your grade, sir?
I'll give it a B-. I mean, it's just like these LR issues are like a diversion. It's like the story gets started. It's almost like watching The Walking Dead. Actually, the story goes somewhere. Then the next episode is like where we take 2 steps back. So
I often call it the A story and the B story. This is very much the B story. Peter fighting Kindred is the A story. You can trim off the fat from that B story, and we won't miss much.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that all these LR stories wouldn't add up to, maybe one issue of worth a story. All these LRs are going to be. So
yeah. So we got a B-. Tyler, what's your grade?
I got A-.
Kelly?
A-.
Mike?
B-, and it's because again it's at the Soul Senator plot. Actually, interesting enough, the stuff with the spider losers, as JR calls them, that's actually the more interesting. It actually became more interesting in this issue, especially toward the end. So
Neil, grade?
B+, but just a couple of points away from an A-.
I guess C+ for me. It didn't do much for me, honestly.
Spider
losers.
I'm gonna go with Mike. That's the more interesting bit. Like we're finally getting the plot moving along.
Especially when Doctor Strange is throwing shade on everybody.
Yeah,
especially Black Cats, he's like basically says, hey, why didn't you go to the guy who actually knows how all the stuff about the magic and supernatural? Oh wait, you did it, and you're in the mess you're in because of that. So
now let me clean up your mess.
Now let me clean up your mess.
So JR pros out of this issue.
I don't know. I like Mary Jane. I like the fact I like Mary Jane. I like it. I like things going back to the way they were before they decided to wipe out Norman's memory. And that he didn't know that Peter's Spider-Man. Because I like to see not only does Norman. Does Norman and Peter have this thing, but Mary Jane hates Norman and Norman hates Mary Jane. And, it's this whole thing. And I did kind of like to see her whack him with the lamp. But it really was just an okay story. I didn't have a whole lot of pros, to be honest.
Other pros who had a big A? Tyler, I think you gave it an A.
Oh, I get A-. But,
okay.
No, I mean, like I said, I do really like that they show like MJ. She's not just a damsel of distress. She's gonna whack Norman with that lamp, and then
Kelly and I were talking about this last night. MJ with the lamp. Look out!
No, it's even in an MC2 episode issue where Normie gets hit with a lamp in her office when she was working at the fashion company. I'm like, I don't understand.
She literally throws shade. I'm serious.
Yes, that's her superpower. Is she has the ability.
She's a shade thrower, man.
Throw that shade.
All right. Neil, Kelly, Mike, pros that we haven't talked about.
I kind of went. Oh, you want to go first, Mike?
Yeah, I was just going to say that I know with the spider losers thing like this, but I mean we're throwing theories now about this whole the astral plane stuff and what the appearance of another Mary Jane wearing her one more day outfit could mean and stuff like that. Like, what is the thing? And then I know I was kind of going off about how maybe about the idea, like like saying like they project that these are all projections and stuff like this, but I think it's makes it an interesting thing that rather than it's being, like I said, rather than being, it's, that the idea that rather, because I mean, if you look back at the actual One More Day deal, it, like I said, it wasn't his soul, it was the marriage, but that meant the memory of that.
Yeah.
Of the marriage. And so what it is so it's allowing for kind of a spiritual attack on himself. It's basically opened a door still, because I mean, it's still basically saying you still made a deal with Mephisto. Even if it wasn't for your soul, you still made yourself vulnerable. And Peter doesn't realize he has done that. And I think what we're having with all this kindred stuff, I'm not sure if I mean, who knows if I was even going off about the Discord stuff. Maybe this is a Harry that's a projection of Peter's projection of Harry rather than the actual Harry. Or maybe Harry was
how Peter
possessed.
thinks of him.
Yeah. That this is like, or maybe Harry's possessed or something, but rather than him actually doing it. So, because again, there's this whole thing with between Norman's conversation and Mary Jane in this issue. Norman like, oh, I know it's Harry. And Mary Jane's like, well, how do you know? It means like, well, I can't really tell you because of the confusion of the plot and all this stuff and everything, but I just have a gut instinct at this. So Mary Jane's kind of, I think she's kind of speaking for the readers, like, so you don't really have any proof. You just kind of have it's just, again, and it kind of tells me that maybe Norman doesn't really know as much as he thinks he does. So, but
to quote the Stranger, when he's like, I can't explain it. It's basically the Stranger from Destiny saying, I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain.
Oh, but Kelly, yeah.
I'll tell you 6 years later.
So what I was gonna say though is I think like with where Norman's at least picked up on, like, she definitely is having dreams about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of where she does know, because she was like, I don't want to forget. So she's probably dreaming about them being married. She's probably dreaming about all of it. And that's probably the key to a lot of what's going on. And I think Norman's at least picked up on that.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know exactly how, if that makes sense.
And it's interesting you mentioned dreams too, because I think the idea is, I don't know if, correct me on Vermont for people who are more familiar with, I wish George was here because he knows it was more Doctor Strange stuff backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
But I think, hasn't it been established that that people in the Marvel Universe are connected to the astral plane through dreams? And how has Kindred been able to get into people's
that's how Nightmare gets people. He gets them in their dreams. He's like the Freddy Krueger before Freddy Krueger.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Everyone's favorite, Sleepwalker.
Yeah. Are we gonna wait? Are we gonna? It's possible.
Oh,
we
gosh,
could possibly
it'd be
see
great if we
Sleepwalker.
That would be that would be the team. That would be like the most left field team up at all times.
It really would.
Out of nowhere, Sleepwalker just comes out and says, "Hey guys, it's me. I'm relevant to this comic somehow."
Okay, but in fairness, Spencer likes taking that kind of stuff and making something good. So
yeah,
JR,
let's hear some cons out of you. What didn't you like about this one?
I don't like Moreland. I never wanted to see Moreland again. I think Mike's right. The Sin Eater plot is done. It's like we should be that should be over with. We should be winnowing down and getting down to the main thing, not expanding it and bringing in more confusion. That's kind of primarily it. I mean, I think
you took my con. You took my con.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think actually, I mean, this will probably be wrong or whatever, but I wonder if Norman's being bonded with the Carnage symbiote when Kindred came to visit him that one time. Norman kind of gave him some, insight as to who he was dealing with. Because I mean, didn't Norman still have the Carnage symbiote at that time, or at least a piece of it or something? When he was a Ravencroft, So I mean, I think maybe the symbiote was in kind of could feel that it was Harry or knew that it was Harry or something. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing. But that was my theory on why Norman knows so much, is because of the symbiote. So.
My con for these LRs is the spider. What do you call them? Spider losers, JR.
Yeah.
I just, with the exception, I like Gwen about to throw Miles off the bridge. That's the only thing that I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But they're just worthless. I was looking at an image from the panel. They're just standing around. There's 6 people that don't need to be in this book. They're just standing around listening to Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange does need to be in this book.
It was even worse a few issues ago. Remember when they were astral projections just standing around watching?
I mean, they should buy the book if they're like us. They're just sitting around watching what's happening. I mean, I'm tired of these people.
That kind of ties into my kind of con is that Doctor Strange kind of serves as an expositional vehicle. Like he's there to kind of provide magic exposition dumps.
That's fine. He deserves to be here. Silk and Aranya do not.
Well, no, I don't disagree, but I think that like there is a way to more easily deliver exposition than basically just saying, "Oh, this is what we're going to do," and then they do it. But I do agree that he has a place there. I'm still kind of indifferent to the Spider family being there. I get why they're there. They still need to justify their presence, though. Why are the Spider family there, Neil? You just said you understand why they're there. Why are they there?
Is it what I said? Is it what I said earlier about the fact that they're supposed to be there so that way we can show them slowly kind of being cut off to get to the main point? Because I will say this, at least in this last one, once they're kind of free from it, as much as it is interesting to watch them go into the astral plane, it is an interesting story just by itself. I do agree that it's not a part of the main story, and I think at this point, everyone, I've talked about this. I understand, from just reading it to read it, yeah, totally, I'm here for it. However, looking back at it as you've been waiting for this for 2 years, you don't really want to hear that story. You want to get to the heart of it because it's been a long time.
And by the way, Doctor Strange being there makes Julia Carpenter even more of a worse.
Yeah, and going off
and he called her out too.
And going off of what Kelly said, the Spider family, in my opinion, is there because Peter has been so reliant on the Spider family during Slott's run. Now that they're here, they're being forcefully separated from him, so now he has to deal with the threat himself. And while they're doing their own thing in their book, Peter is forced to deal with the threat of Kindred by himself, and they're basically following in his, I guess, trail of destruction, as it were, and trying to pick up the pieces. It's like an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation in a weird way.
I used to like Julia Carpenter. I liked her in Secret Wars. I know, JR. I liked her on Avengers West Coast. She was a single mom. She was out on the West Coast kicking a butt as the Avengers. Now she's just a girl in a coat that isn't needed when Doctor Strange is there, like Mike said.
But Brad, the web.
The web.
That's it.
W-E-B of Spider-Man. Yeah.
She hasn't been the same since Carol beat the shit out of her and took her away from her kid.
This is true.
Watch out, Julius. Superhuman Ice coming for you.
Yeah. But I'm honestly still confused at even why she's there because of the whole story about Annie being the web weaver in Spider-Geddon. So I'm sitting here so Annie is weaving it, and then Jessica has to interpret it. I don't get what's going on, because if that's the case, then that makes sense, because a 16-year-old girl is weaving this web, and that's a bunch of problems right there.
Yeah. All right, before we wrap it up, we have a preview of the next issue. So let's take a look at the preview. Beautiful looking cover by Mr. Gleason. I'm looking at this live for the first time. Can you guys see that? There's a lot of white. Here, let me
just open up the page as a new tab.
There you go. There you go. Now you guys can see it better. Let's see. So we start in the brownstone. Who's sleeping here?
I believe that's
Liz.
Lily. That's Liz.
Did you say Lily House? Who said Lily House?
I'm sorry. I'm blacking out on the mind. She's going to be here in that book.
So this is Liz Osborne?
Yeah, it's Liz.
Is this Normie?
That's Normie, yeah.
Normie.
Oh, what is that? Is that a shadow on it?
It's a shadow, yes.
Yeah.
The shadow.
Okay. Oh, it's a centipede. It's a centipede. Oh, Daddy's home. When I was a boy, I could sleep with anything. Oh, through anything.
No, Brad.
No. Slip there.
When I was a boy, I could sleep through anything. Oh my gosh. Okay, is that Normie again?
This is Peter.
Nope, that's Peter.
Oh,
and notice the position he's in.
Oh, is that when he woke up from the dream after one more day?
Yes, it was.
Oh, look at that sleeping position.
Yeah, here, I just linked you an image. You can compare this page to that image I just linked.
Here, let me get through it. We'll compare it.
Yeah.
Where am I? Home. Good morning. Rather good afternoon, Tiger. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, so
That's
now
it. What?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Tyler gave me an image to compare. Let me copy link address. So the image is here, and the image Tyler sent me is look at that.
That is
Look at him come down the stairs, just
Mhm.
like
that is the very first page of Brand New Day.
whoa.
Here's a weird thought, and this is gonna sound like a weird one, but with the change in artists, I'm wondering if there's also a change in perspective because because Pat Gleason's been drawing ASM 50 to 52. I'm wondering if this issue takes place from Kindred's perspective because it starts with him standing over Normie's bed.
Yeah.
And he's like, when I was a boy, I know Kindred's like been monologuing throughout the book in 50 through 52, but I'm wondering if like this book takes its place directly from his perspective all the way through.
Well, the thing is too is like Kindred has been kind of finishing Peter's thoughts a long time, so there's that. But I'm also thinking that because we're seeing deliberate callbacks to, oh, this is what would have really happened if Peter hadn't taken, if Peter and Mary Jane were still married. This is definitely getting that. Oh, because remember Peter had his snap. This is definitely like Peter is kind of like in that limbo.
Yeah.
Thing going on there. Like, this is what you could have had, Pete. If
memory
serves,
serves, wasn't it Aunt May talking to him at the end of the stairs?
It
Unfortunately, yes.
It
Yeah.
was.
How creepy is it going to be if Aunt May is calling him Tiger?
Oh, it's not going to be.
I don't think Spencer's going to deliberately do that same thing again.
No,
Of course, my conspiracy theory could be simply chalking up Gleason's inability to finish an arc up to like an actual important change in perspective, but I like to dream.
I have a slight question. So like the thing is like, you know, the last time he was kind of in that weird limbo world and being talked to, it wasn't May and it really wasn't Annie, but it was basically just the child that they could have had.
Yes.
Trying to talk him out of it. And I'm slightly wondering if like, so now it's probably maybe just showing him what he did have prior, but I'm wondering how far we're going to go in that issue. Because
because I mean,
throwing all those callbacks, like, wouldn't you want that callback too?
Could also,
because I mean, we're gonna come. I think what we're gonna get out of this arc ultimately is that Peter's gonna will remember that he did make this deal with Mephisto, but it's not gonna undo one more day. That's gonna be the tragedy of it.
Exactly.
It could also be like for the man who has everything, where like this is a dream of what Peter could have had, but then he realizes it's not real and has to go back to reality, you know, that thing that people exist in.
Yeah.
The Nicolas Cage movie where he was that stockbroker guy who got hit in the head and he wakes up and he's like, oh, he's a married man in the suburbs. What was the name?
I thought you were talking about Face Off when he just makes with John Travolta.
JR, reaction to the preview we just saw. What's going on here, man?
I don't have anything different to add. I mean, it's you know. I mean, obviously they're directly now. They're really directly referencing One More Day, and fortunately, I mean, if Kindred really is Harry, he's showing he's where he should be. He's showing up in the, you know, picking up the pieces of the life he once had. So
it is kind of weird because when you think about it, like Spider-Man has been saving Liz and Normie for the last bit, like even recently with the Red Goblin. So Harry's still just going after him for that.
This is basically Spencer like looking One More Day, and then he does what's the name of the guy from Courage the Cowardly Dog? And he goes, "That's it, I'm getting me mallet," and he's gonna beat it right into us.
Well, if you go back to that Kindred panel, that's very reminiscent of like the end of The Child Within. Go back to JMD and Mateus, where you got it because Harry in his Green Goblin costume standing over Normie, and now you've got him like this. It's very reminiscent of that whole setup. But which kind of makes me weird, but you know, because we also see flashes earlier pages of Liz there, but do we see Stanley, his other son? I don't know.
No one remembers him.
Who is Stanley?
Stanley in a while.
Stanley?
Yeah,
Stanley is
Lily and his baby.
I'm like, if Harry Lyman is not a real person, who's his daddy? And what is that kid?
Yeah.
I still I think we speculated about it in Discord, Mike. You and I both speculated that it could be like a part of Harry that broke off, like the good part.
Yeah.
That redeemed himself in Spec 200. And then that part got brought back during One More Day, going into Brand New Day, and this is the bad part of Harry that remained in hell.
See, I think this is what makes me think there's some kind of demonic possession going on with Harry.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because with those centipede things, because I think it's the centipedes that are actually the demons, not Harry himself. So
we have about 50. Let's do about 10 minutes of taking questions from the audience.
Sure.
But first, just for the audio of this podcast, let's do final thoughts. Mike, final thoughts on this 2 hours of 6 issues. Go ahead.
Well, I'm glad we're finally getting somewhere with this thing. It's just, but hopefully Spencer won't keep padding it out. And I will say if it is going where we think it's going, it's like, oh, this is going to be some interesting ramifications afterwards. So fingers crossed.
We're moving forward. We are moving forward.
After
JR,
2 years.
Thoughts?
I mean, I don't have anything to add. I think, Mike's sentiments pretty well speak for most of the rest of us. I mean, we're finally glad we're there, or at least we think we're there. I hope we're there. So
what if we're at the halfway point, JR?
Oh God, it's like Bane and King's Batman arc.
No.
Hey guys, it was me. Hang on, I'm gonna do my Bane voice.
What?
It was me all along.
No, that's a Muppet. What, JR, here's a hypothetical. What if Kindred says, I'm just a number 2 guy. Here's the big bad red guy down in hell. He's behind it all. Go take him on. What if we got to do another 50 issues of Mephisto?
I don't think we will, but
you don't? You think that we're near the end, huh?
Well, I mean, I don't think we're going to do 50 issues of Mephisto. I don't know where Spencer's going with this. I don't even want to speculate, but
Tyler, final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, even though I was wrong about the identity of Kindred, I was really leaning for Peter Soul corner, but I'm very excited that this obviously is going to be addressing One More Day in some way, and I think that's something I've wanted for a very long time. So I'm super excited to see where this goes and how Spencer deals with it.
Me too. Kelly, final thoughts.
I just want MJ to throw more shade.
throw a lamp at Mephisto.
Now, Neil, final thoughts.
So, this was a really good set of months. It's been about 2 since these issues came out, but it's been a very good set of months for Amazing Spider-Man. And in response to Mike talking about like how we just finally got here, I will say this: it beat 2 things in terms of time to get out. The first was Hobgoblin. The other was Cyberpunk 2077.
So,
gosh, that's another game that's been taking forever to get stories.
All right, so let's take some comments and questions for about 10 minutes or so. Daniel says these streams brought a smile to my face during a difficult week. So Daniel,
you're welcome, Dan.
Nice.
Thanks.
It's Friday the 13th in 2020, Dan. I mean, hopefully we're giving some kind of light.
Yeah.
Adam, doesn't Stanley have goblin blood? Well, half his daddy is. Well, I don't know.
It was confusing. It was confusing because Stanley's supposed to be the child of Harry Osborn and Lily Hollister. Mm-hmm. So
he's got double goblin blood.
Which, by the way, there's another character we have not. That's been kind of like
Lily. No, we saw Lily.
She's in Black Cat. Well, she's gonna be.
Well, yeah,
Lily is in Black Cat. Yeah.
Oh, because she's the white cat thing now.
Yeah. So here's the thing with Stanley that I remember from just before American Son, was the fact that like when we found out that Lily like had the goblin serum and was cheating on Harry with his dad, and Norman thought it was his kid, and then through DNA testing they found it was Harry's. From what I understand, that's why like he doesn't have as much goblin blood as you think because of something with like Harry wasn't taking the serum, etc., which also could allude to him being not fully Harry. But I don't think anyone's going that deep. I don't really think Stanley's going to be a part of this.
Right. Radiac 55 says, "Don't know about you guys, but Kindred being Harry is something only Norman has said. Still think it's Peter."
The thing
I want to believe, but
here's the thing, though. I mean, we saw Kindred looking at the reflection. Looking at his reflection. That's an indication to the reader that this is that this Kindred is Harry somehow. But it's interesting that only the readers and Norman knows about this, but no one else does. So, but that's a visual clue to showing that Norman is.
And And going off of Spencer's own writing history, he tends to play his reveals fairly straight. Like, he might add components to it later, but when he has the reveal, like with Hydra Cap, it was real, but there was components added into it that add further context.
Yeah.
To what
Well,
happens.
I kind of about that Hydra Cap thing. I think there was a lot of pressure from Marvel for him to kind of change that to make it like, oh, here's Hydra Cap and then here's real Cap, because there was a lot of people who were upset with that little Hydra Cap reveal about maybe that Hydra Cap was the real Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
And so I think there was some editorial pressure to make him change it somehow. But that's why Secret Wars was good. That's why Secret Empire was
I'm talking about like the immediate follow up to.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
The initial reveal, like they reveal what happened to get to Hydra Cap, not necessarily not necessarily the end of Secret Empire when Steve comes out of the Cosmic Cube.
Yeah,
but,
right.
But like the initial reveal of like, here's Hydra Cap, and then the next issue they immediately revealed like the context behind that reveal. Of, like, here's what happened in Avengers Standoff that led to Hydra Cap being revealed. And that's what
Bane, it makes your dreams come true. Okay, Nintendo wants to know. Oh, let me hear a Muppet Bane. Go ahead, one more time.
Well, perhaps you wonder why you would shoot a man before throwing him out of a plane.
Muppet Bane.
Muppet Bane.
Was Life Remains issue numbering intentional to make us think of Kingpin's debut story? Is he talking about ASM 51, which was Kingpin's first appearance? Is that what they're talking about?
Yeah, that was
okay. Woot! Reading Spider-Man's fun again, says Mike Murdoch. I would agree. Adam's been enjoying Spider-Man since Slot left. Mike is still feeling the burn from the last 10 to 15 years. I feel you. I remember MJ smashing Jonathan Caesar in the face with a lamp when he kidnapped her.
She's there particular about bludgeoning her stalking victims.
Yeah.
Throwing shade.
Stalking
That's her power.
I got it with the lamp. Hey.
I remember the Mark Waid arc where everyone was trying to steal Stanley. All the villains, says Adam.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was supposed to be the Sinister 600 story, but which kind of got altered a little bit. But
if the marriage comes back, will the whole panel sing Kung Fu Fighting in their honor? Yes.
I do not sing.
I'm here for this.
I'm yeah, I'm down. Kindred is Normie Osborn. All grown up.
That would it's funny, but it's not so far fetched because Normie Osborn since Brandon Day has been like almost like has those Damien Bourne vibes going on. If you notice,
he's always had that though, and that's the thing. That's what makes him. I love the stupid character. I adore him.
What are you talking
in
about?
all forms.
No, but he's the hero though because he almost killed Aunt May for putting raisins in her cookies. He's the real hero.
He should have killed her. That's his major.
Yes,
right
that's what gives Go Down Swinging like a very low grade is because Normie didn't kill Aunt May, and that's the worst part of the story.
We have a Sins Past question. How come Harry's kid Stanley doesn't have progeria?
Progeria.
Progeria, like his Aunt Sarah and Uncle Gabe.
Because
I think it's because the Goblin formula is the Goblin formula is kind of a knockoff. I assume is the logic behind it.
Radix says good points. I'm still happy that one more day is being addressed. Why would Harry want to touch OMD?
Yeah, that's a good because I think it's go ahead.
He didn't have consent in him coming back.
Oh yeah,
and also Peter kind of throwing away his sacrifice essentially, or at least part of it.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing too, because part of that deal was that Peter's secret identity would go away, right? And so if Harry kind of remembered that Peter was Spider-Man, he would also feel kind of slighted. It's like, oh my gosh, you were still even after you still tried to lie to me and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
so,
I definitely think there's something Harry has seen about One More Day that we haven't seen yet, or like that he got to experience, like see what Peter did or something like that. By the way, I like the Bionicle stuff, Radiac.
Oh, there you go.
Oh yes.
Vinkman says, whenever I hear Stanley, I keep thinking of Stanley. Well, that was
that was because that's what
I was going for.
Yeah.
Oh God, I forgot about Normie Carnage again. Sat on him.
Goblin Child.
Progeria a hair thing. I
assume it's the rapid aging that Sarah
is.
Yeah.
Yes,
so Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We're going to take about a 5-minute break. We're going to be back at 9. And we're going to tell you about our Patreon show, what episodes we're going to review. I think it's 11 books. I think.
Oh my gosh, you guys are going to be up all night.
11.
Okay, well, Mike, wait for King in Black.
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah.
Hey, Mike, you want to
Oh
review
my
that
God.
Namor series? It's facepalmed it.
I'm sorry, but I think I'm up to my eyeballs with X of Swords at the moment.
Oh, I didn't even touch X
Stabbing,
Swords,
as
man.
or as I like to call it, Stabbing Sticks, the X-Men story.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
pretty much.
So we're going to take a 5-minute break at 9. We'll be right back. We're going to fill up our Mountain Dews and etc. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for
Bring our-
watching. We'll be right back. Venkman,
See you guys.
11 books, you poor soul.
See you guys.
It'll be a fun time, Vinkman.
Yeah.
All right.